Right, so once we've got our high poly all exactly how we want it, now we need to work on the low poly. And there's a few ways in which we can do this. So I'll just demonstrate a couple. So initially, one of my favorite ways is I'll take my high poly, which will be already in its own layer here, and I'll double click and make that a reference there. So it's on R, which means I cannot touch this. And then I'll go into my kind of orthographic views where I can sort of then see things. That's isolated. There we go. And then I will just essentially trace. So I'm going to create a box, and then I'll come in, and then I'll just try and model, and I can snap as well. So because it's still a reference. So I can hold down V and snap that to the top. And my Gizmo is doing that thing again where it's got the pin component pivot, I think. So reset, and it just unchecks that for me. And then I can select those, and then my pivot returns back to normal. And then I can do this, and I'll go through and basically remodel this, but maintaining the silhouette of my original shape. So I can bring all this in like so. And it can be quite time consuming, but I've got as much control as I could possibly have. And then I'll come in, come to the side perhaps, and then I'll bevel that edge, and let's just increase the fraction and the segments. And then whatever that is, just zoom in a bit. Maybe 0.1, too much. 0.1, 0.5, sorry. That's pretty close, so I might just bring it back a little bit. 4, no, up a bit, sorry. 6. There we go. I think that's pretty much accurate to that. And then I'll just do that. Basically, I trace it. I literally come in and trace it. And then that may be my low poly box. I want to spend my budget, if you like, my try budget on the areas that count. So that's going to be all my curved areas. So you might think this corner is a little bit too detailed perhaps for low poly, but I'm fine with that because I want to retain the shape of the silhouette as close as possible. So that would potentially be my low poly box. And then can I get away with just baking that top information in, or do I need to actually model that in? So if I do, then I'd have to come back and, oops. Push this back to 0. And then I would have to come in here and then cut out this shape again. And basically do what I did the first time, but just this time I'm not smoothing it. I'm maintaining it as a hard or on the one without a smoothing, because that's how our low poly will finally be. So that's one method, which I'm not going to use for this instance. And you can combine and stuff, so I might use elements of it. But then the next method that is quite common is to essentially retopologize. So rather than having this as a reference here, what I will do is select my mesh and turn it into a live thing, but it's not going to allow me. I think it's because it's all grouped. I'm not too sure. So what I'm going to do is just duplicate this whole group. Oops, hang on. Control D to duplicate. And I'm going to hide my original. And again, I want to do this because I don't want to be distracted. Going a bit slow now because I've got a ridiculous amount of polys on screen. Okay, so I'll just Control and H to hide. It'll allow me. Is it Shift H or just H? Oh, just H. So because I've selected it from there, and then I'll take my copy, and I will then Shift right click and combine. There we go. And then I can just delete that. So I've just got this as a solid mesh, but it's then, because I've deleted that and it had its history attached to it, it deleted all the colors. So what I will do is just select that first and then delete the history from it, which then should detach any kind of thing to that, and then it'll bring back. So there we go. So yeah, if your mesh ever goes green like that, it basically means that it does not have a material assigned to it. And that can be broken up through the history when you're doing things like this. So we've got that. Now I will go to my live surface mode, and that will work now. So I thought you could do it as multiple objects. Maybe there's something in other issues elsewhere with the mesh. But with that now selected, what I can do is come in to my modeling toolkit and then go to quad draw. And what this allows me to do is basically draw 1, 2, 3, 4 points on the mesh, hold down shift, and then it will paint. Now I can do multiple, and then I can just drag. And this basically works in a similar way to like a magnet. And I've got some there, I think. I don't know where they've come from. So, and then if I want to put an edge, I can just hit Control and then stick an edge in there. And then I can just kind of come through. But you'll notice what it does is it sticks to the surface. So you can come through, and this is quite nice, and just paint through. But then that's going to be in the way, but it just depends on how you're going to kind of go about this. So maybe we want that sort of in there. I'm going to come around. It depends on how you're going to work and how you decide your geometry is going to be. So let's just shift that there. Then we can put another one in here, there. And there's loads of tools with this. So, tab and middle mouse, for example. Oops. Tab and middle mouse click. Oh, my mouse is being funny. On the edge, we'll drag out the whole edge, and then I can just grab and move this. And if I just go that to there, then it will automatically merge for me. So it's a really valuable tool. And by the way, this is not good topology. This is not what I would do. I'm just using this as an example to show how it sticks to the surface and goes on corners and that kind of stuff. So it's a really good tool, and I would say generally it's better for characters and organic type things. So I won't necessarily use that. But then the other method, if I just delete that for a moment, is in the same way using it as a live surface, and you're, say, modeling. But I want to be kind of relatively sort of loose with my modeling perhaps sometimes, or just get a rough shape if it's a bit complex. So let's have a look up here at the dial, for example. I want to create this dial. So I'm going to grab myself a cylinder. I'm going to move it up. It's a bit slow because there's a lot of tries on screen. I'm going to get this roughly in place. Make it a little bit bigger. So you can see, for example, here that obviously mine's too big. But at the moment, it's sort of encompassing that. God, it was harder than it needed to be. Right click on face, and I'm just going to delete those faces in the middle. So I've just got the ring. And you can see this is already being a bit slow for me because of the amount of tries on screen. So it's not necessarily, come on, what's going on? It's not being slow, it's just being delete. So we've got that there. And then what I can do is that it doesn't quite match, but that's safe for whatever reason. That's the limit that I'm going with. Now I can select this mesh, and because this is already a live mesh, I can go to mesh and conform. And it will basically just try and attach itself to it. Now that got a little bit confused because it's too close to that. So I'm going to shrink it down just a bit. So it's around that. And then I'll go mesh conform. There we go. And it's stuck. You can't really see it at the moment. But if I just go back into my quad draw mode, you'll see that that appears now and it's stuck to the sides of that button. Obviously it's cutting through because we don't have much geometry, but then I can just tab and middle click and just pull that up, and pull that down. So then you can start to customize and really kind of use multiple methods and tools in the best way you can. So then that's there. And if I want more detail, I can just press Control and middle mouse click, and then it will automatically conform to the shape. So you can see how much you can get away with. And if it's still not, then I can put another couple more in. So then we're getting closer to that edge. So that's another way, but again, it's still not quite as accurate as I would like it to be. So we've just gone over a couple of things where you can remodel it essentially from scratch by tracing it. You can use your quad draw where you literally draw on geometry. And then you can also use the sort of modeling tools where you're kind of tracing over it, but a little bit perhaps more loose. And then using the conform tool to kind of snap it in and combine that with the quad draw. So those sort of are the two potential methods. The other way, which can be quite time consuming as well, but equally doable, so I'm just going to delete that now, is to come into my low poly, or not low poly, my construction mesh, sorry. So if I just open up my construction mesh, let's just bring that back, Control and H, Control Shift H, there we go, Shift H, got it in the end, because I just want to hide it in my layers there. And then I've got my construction mesh and I've lost the dials. So where have they gone? Oh, I just deleted my dials from earlier. I think I might have done, so you need to be careful about that. So I'm just going to save or open up my previous load. Here we go. And to be fair, I probably deleted it because it wasn't named. So yeah, it was that poly surface. So display. So I deleted it at some point when it was hidden, not realizing I needed it. So where is, we've got that radio. So I'm going to take that display and drop it into that radio, middle mouse click. So then I've got my radio sort of construction mesh here. Now I'm going to duplicate this, push this out, and this is going to be, I can leave it where it is to be fair. And this is going to be my radio underscore low poly. And I'm just going to create another one here. And it'll be radio underscore LP, low poly. So now I've got all this in place. I can hide. Okay. I'm pretty sure I just did duplicate that. So I'll just duplicate. I've got display, and I'm going to middle mouse and drag that into that one there. And then, okay, and now it is there. That's, I know why. So just take that display, go to low poly and add selected objects. There we go, got there in the end. So this is going to be my low poly. And what I need to do is basically take one piece at a time and reconfigure the mesh. So it needs to be in 1, so hard shaded. And I'm basically going to edit the geometry and strip out everything that I do not need. So if we come in here, we've got our radio low poly, and I can open this up, and we've got our buttons, which are not labeled at all, which is not good. Actually, any of them even group because I merged them? Nope. So I can just delete. I should be able to just delete that group. Body, dividers, strap, logo, and display. So that's okay. We'll go one by one. So we've got the radio body. So I can just isolate this for a moment. And this is what I need to reconfigure into my low poly. And I'm going to keep it separate so that I can separate them and bake them nicely. And then I'm going to come in and just start working. So I might just take this one first, double clicking on the face and hit F so I can kind of center around this a little easier on my camera. Or maybe actually I'm just going to take those couple of vertices and come in that way. So I want to come in and take out any edges that's not doing anything. So I could take out that because it's not really having much effect. There is a slight bevel, but not a massive one, so I can delete that. Like so. And I want to keep this corner relatively high because it's retaining the shape. But then I can do things like over here. I can select these verts. Hang on, let me just take this face and I want to isolate just this face. I want to take those verts, make sure they're straight, snap them off there, and then merge. And there should only be 5. That'll be right. Still 7. So instead, rather than faffing with that, okay, I think I'm selecting behind as well. Mess my mesh up there. So what I'll do instead is just take the one, not multi-cut, vertices, merge, and target weld, because that was already there. Take that to there, and then I'm just going to double select that edge and shift right click and delete that edge. So just tying things off, and this is symmetrical as well. So I can just delete half and clean up half and then mirror this back over. Vertices, oops, merge, up, take the edge, shift right click, delete. So I can delete those. I want to keep that detail in the corner. But I don't need the supporting edge. So I can get rid of that. And then in here, I can probably get rid of all of this. And just have that straight, and then the bake should give me that indication. And maybe not even that. So it's just straight in. It's going to have the mesh there as well, remember? And then I can maybe take these. And maybe merge those to center. And do the same with those. So I'm just essentially optimizing this mesh to a degree. And to be fair, I can probably take that even further and just render that or bring those down. And I might just pull that out. Just even to the center. Why not? This is going to be hidden behind the with mesh, we're not really going to see much. But yeah, I want to keep the integrity of the shape whilst reducing as much as possible, and can probably take more down. Maybe don't even need this one. But we'll see how it goes. So I will take that out for now. And I want to keep that in there. I may actually at some point bevel that edge. We'll go with it as it is for the time being. And then I'm going to take the same out on this side. And it's just figuring out what I can strip out and what I need to leave in there. So that may be all I'm going to do on that point for now. See what the total is once I've done. So you can look at it as kind of like passes. My first pass. And again, I can actually get rid of a lot of this. So I can just tie that off there, that off there, which then enables me to delete that edge and that edge. Multi-cut tool again, tool settings, bring that to there and then up to there. Delete that edge. I can also delete these edges on the side, they do nothing. And then I will just come in and manually do these cuts in this corner. May not even need that lip, but for now I'm going to leave it in there. I don't want to strip out everything, and it's a portfolio piece, so I'm giving myself a bit of a generous budget. I think for the module that I set, it was under 10,000. It might have been 8. I can't remember off the top of my head. I can delete that edge, that edge, that edge. And I think perhaps for now that may be okay. We'll come back to it if we need to. And then I'm just going to control D, -1 on the X, shift selection and combine. And then merge those vertices. So yeah, I think that'll do for the low poly of the main body.